Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us for this edition of SBB University, where we are talking about caring for the caregiver. As everyone knows, statistically, caregivers have a higher rate of passing away before the person they're caring for. So it's really, really important to have a plan in place to avoid that caregiver burnout. So we have some dynamic ladies joining us today for this panel discussion. First, I want to introduce Miss Aime Conti, who is a
Hi.
senior resource specialist over at Chelsea Place Adult Day. How are you this morning?
I am great. Thank you for having me. I was really looking forward to this and
Yes,
sharing a bit about what we do. So thank you.
perfect. Well, tell me a little bit about yourself and your background, because you have an amazing story that brought you into this fantastic industry.
Okay, so I actually, when I moved to Florida, like about 16 years ago, um, my kids were very young. So I was trying to find a job for around their school schedules, wound up walking into an assisted living just on a fluke, didn't even know they were looking for help. And they hired me right on the spot as a receptionist. Stayed there for about a month, started doing activities from my desk, went to activities for 5 years. Then I took over marketing for a few years because at the time my administrator was like, you're always selling something. I was always selling and very passionate about helping people. But basically, it was just like this journey that led me to where I am now, 15 years later. I've developed myself in this community, not just for marketing and outreach, but to help people and become a referral source. Because no matter where I am, I will always help them, even if we can't help them with our services.
Yes, absolutely.
I tried to make that kind of a little interesting because of what you said about the store was like, make fireworks go up. I'm just very passionate about helping people.
Yes, yes, and it shows definitely. All right, Miss Chaz Davis with Home Instead. How are you this morning, Chaz?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. So tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, what led you to this wonderful industry.
Well, actually, my story is a little similar to Amy. I moved down here and I was in customer service. I worked in a call center and it wasn't really my passion. So I decided to look for other positions. Walked into Beneva Lakes assisted living facility, or actually skilled nursing facility, and got hired on as their admissions intake person. So from there, I went to the assisted living facility into director of sales, just climbed the ladder within the consulate communities in Sarasota. And then I got recruited to Home Instead.
Yes.
So I'm the general manager there. So I pretty much make sure that all of our operations goes as planned and we're following all of our regulations, and I manage all of our caregivers and do all of that. So
Yes.
that's how I got in the business.
Big job, big, very important job. All right, wonderful. Thanks, Chaz. All right, Miss Paula, we have us joining from the Senior Friendship Center. How are you this morning, Paula?
I'm great, thanks. And I too thank you for inviting me. It's a privilege to be with you all. So.
Well, thank you. I love the merriness of all of the different services that we can provide, and just as Amy said, how we can all help each other to help our seniors here in the area. So, Paula, tell me your story. How did you get into the industry, and what landed you with the Senior Friendship Center?
Yeah, well, I worked in psychiatry for 20 some years here in Sarasota, and I always gravitated to the senior adult population. They were my favorite. I worked with all populations. And then at some point, like these ladies, I was promoted. I had opportunities, everything from ropes course and running that to an expressive therapy department. And eventually I was asked to develop a partial hospital for Sarasota Palms Hospital. So I was honored to be able to do that. So developing a partial, it was a transition program out of psychiatry. And eventually when Memorial bought the program, then I merged both of those and ran that for a while. I had some few years in long-term care, learned a lot. And then I found the Friendship Center. And I always joke about looking at the ads saying, that's me, when, and it was an adult daycare manager position and it was a new industry. I go from for-profit to nonprofit. And so it was a new world, but I loved it. I mean, what can you not love about bringing joy to people on a regular basis? And that too evolved because, and I'll talk more about that as we chat later, the evolution of some of the programs in caregiving services here. So anyway, that's my story.
You have a lot to offer over there for sure. So we're going to dive into that. Aime, we're going to start up with you. I want you to tell me a little bit about what an adult day center is. Talk to me about the differences between an adult day center, assisted living community, and then the respite that you would get at an adult day versus an actual assisted living facility, because they do offer the respite, but they're totally different.
So, okay. So we do at Chelsea Place, we do have both. And private duty home care, but we're not going to talk about that because somebody else is here doing that, who I highly respect. So our daytime center is unique. And when I explain it, I'm very passionate about it because I felt this way before I even joined Chelsea Place. So at our center, and there's other ones out there that are similar, people come there. Like we're open Monday through Saturday. They come there for a half a day, a few hours, all day, and they get socialization. They get everything for their cognitive ability, physical ability, and social ability, I say. So like, for instance, we have activities all day long. We might be doing, say, trivia. Trivia is going to get them going with their cognitivity, but we do it in a fun way. You know, we add so much excitement to it, so everybody wants to join in. Then we might do a physical activity, whether it's something they can do from their seat or standing up. We have lots of games, like oversized games, for instance, for like basketball. We have a huge basketball, like net, big balls. So it's not like your typical ones that would be hard for well, I know for me, it's hard. I have to get that in the basket, but we make it simple for them, but enough where they're going to be using their body so they can get the physical activity. Social activity, wow. These people, you know, you have people, I get calls every day and people are saying, oh, they're not going to want to go, my loved one. They're fine at home watching TV. Well, I truly believe there's that saying, if you don't use it, you lose it. Mm-hmm. We have people who say they don't want to come, and then once they come, they're asking their loved ones on Sunday, when we're closed, why aren't they going? We just make everything fun, but I always say I like to see it more so they're aging gracefully. That's how what I've brought to Chelsea Place. It's not, everybody says age in place. No, age gracefully. You still have so much in you to have fun, and yet use those body parts and that mind like you're not doing at home. And socializing. Somebody might have Alzheimer's or any form of dementia, and they might not be doing things at home, you know, because, you know, I mean, even if my kids, they act different at home than they do out in public, you know, it's like one of those. Just amazing. And it's better sometimes than medicine. So they can come all day, like I said, a half a day, they can have breakfast, they can have lunch. We have parties for every occasion. And I'm sure there's other ones that are similar like this as well, but all our activities are included and they're in-house.
Perfect. All right, Chaz, you mentioned home care.
I had to tell about the respite, but I know I talked probably too long, so
we'll go back around. All right, Chaz, now you are covering the topic of home care, private duty home care. And there's a common misconception between what is covered by a private duty company and a Medicare certified company. Talk to me about the differences and also how you work together.
Okay. Yep. So with a Medicare or skilled agency is what a lot of people call them, they're going to come in and they're going to take care of you clinically. So they're going to come in and they're going to do, if you need wound care or if you need medication management because you're a newly diagnosed diabetic, they're going to come in and do physical occupational speech therapy with you. So they're going to come in and make sure that you are clinically taken care of. Now, private duty, which is what our company does, we come in and make sure that the household is taken care of and that the person is bathed and dressed and has meals and they get to their appointments and things like that. So we're more on the, I like to say, personal aspect.
Sure.
And the Medicare agencies are more on the clinical aspect.
Yeah, you work really well together because a Medicare certified company is not going to be able to walk your dog for you, for example. So talk to me about some of the things that would keep you working in the same environment and that what you do for your clients when they need help at home.
Yeah, so we work hand in hand with skilled agencies. So they'll come in a few times a week, do your therapy sessions with you, but they're only there to do specific things. They're only there to do physical therapy with you or occupational therapy with you, whatever your doctor orders. We, on the other hand, we can come and take you to any follow-up appointments. So we do transportation. We can come and do grocery shopping for you. We can do your laundry. We can help you in the help with bathing, dressing, meal preparation. We can do medication reminders. So again, we're more on the personal, make sure that you're tidy and make sure that your house is tidy and put together and that you're doing your everyday activities that you normally would.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I explain it. And we encourage all of our clients to, when we see any kind of decline in physicalities, we actually encourage clients to use Medicare agencies.
Yeah.
Because that also helps with our caregivers and the amount of work that goes on our caregivers. Because the more a person declines, obviously, the more they're going to need a caregiver. So if that person is still mobile and ambulatory and they're not, falling down all the time, it helps our caregivers do what they have to do.
Yeah, because you're setting those wonderful expectations in the very beginning, and we'll loop back around and talk about that with the care plan and what that is. All right, Paula, now caring for the caregiver, that's what Senior Friendship Center is really all about. You have a number of services under your belt. Talk to us about some of these support groups and what they actually do to keep people from getting that caregiver burnout.
Sure. Well, it's invaluable. Individuals that are caring can't do this by themselves. We all know that as professionals. And certainly our community knows that. The heightened awareness over the years that caregivers weren't being discussed. That's why we created the Caregiver Resource Center, actually. And it's been happening since 2008. And part of that is not just support groups, but it's also offering educational programs. And people call us at the Resource Center, and it's a dialogue that we begin to have with individuals and find out what's going on with them and try to give them some direction. So support groups are ongoing. We all know that that problems just don't stop evolving, or challenges with caring, or people's ability and courage to take next steps. It is about, looking into a day program. It is about understanding the importance and value of being able to hire someone to come into the home, teaching them they can't do it by themselves. So support groups are one thing. Currently we've got 4 weekly groups, and even through COVID, we were doing Zoom classes immediately because it was a very, very difficult year. So support groups are available. There's a variety. There are reasons why I refer people to certain groups. that's part of a conversation that we have. The other thing that I started teaching is called Caregiver 101. It's not a unique title to a class, but what I've learned through all of my years of working with caregivers is that they don't know the basics. They don't know the language.
Right.
They're struggling. So I put together with, and I had these awesome volunteers that worked with me, caregivers, their skills. We put together a series so that people can come in and ask questions, talk about things, begin to take a look at what their needs are. Nobody has those it's hard to have those dialogues with people, especially early on. And so that's part of that class. We've taught powerful tools for years. I'm a master trainer. And so I'm getting ready to kick that off again in the fall. And it's an evidence-based program, 6 weeks long, and it focuses on the caregiver, teaching them how to care for themselves.
Nice.
We're doing mindset classes for people that are already starting. We partner with other individuals in our community. Sarasota is a fabulous place to age. And so we're doing those kind of activities as well. I'm the umbrella of services. I know I could continue to go on, but I too am an advocate of adult daycare. I mean, we have a day program here in Venice, and it's my love and my passion. When you talk about talking passionately about it, it's a wonderful opportunity, and that benefits both caregiver and the participant. So.
Yes, absolutely. All right, we're going to kick it back over to Aime. Aime, talk to me about, it really is, when it comes down to talk about the differences between a respite stay with an adult day and a respite stay in assisted living.
Right.
It also does come down to cost. So what are the differences between the two, and how do you pay for your
it's so funny because I spoke to a woman this morning about that. She called me about respite in our assisted living. And when I told her how much it was per day, even though everything's included, she's like, I'm not going to be able to afford that for 2 weeks. But it isn't a bad price, because see, if you go to an assisted living, you're going to have your room. I mean, personally, we supply all the furniture, the bedding, the linens, a TV, try to make it as much like home as possible. We even encourage them to bring in some pictures and personal items. So they're going to stay, if you go to an assisted living for respite, I can't speak about other ones. Some do have a minimum of 2 weeks to a month stay. Us personally at Chelsea Place right now, we have no minimum. So somebody can stay for a day, or we usually prefer up to about 3 weeks or so, but we are flexible, because anything after a month, you're looking more so maybe long-term.
Right.
So they can come and stay there. Their meals are included. Their care's included. We even take them to doctor appointments while they're with us. So while they're with us, they get everything. So sometimes people want that overnight 24/7 because they're going out of town. And like the woman this morning, she's like, I want to go visit. I'm going to have a new grandbaby. I want to go away in the first 2 weeks of August. The problem is, if I have a room available, if somebody comes in today or within the next week and a half, 2 weeks, and they're looking for a long-term placement, of course, not that we don't want to help this other one, but we have to serve them because they're looking at long-term. So what I told her is, let's revisit it in a week or two. If I don't get anybody, or if I do, I'll just push it off their move-in date and I can offer you the room. Well, then I told her about the daytime center, and it was less money. And what happens is, whether you're going away or you just need a day, I hate to say people need a day, a break, but people need time, especially if they're taking care of a loved one and they can't leave them alone, or it's unsafe for them. Even if the caregiver wants to go get their hair done, or they want to go play some golf, they can come to the center for an hour, a half a day, a full day, and they know their loved one is there and they are safe and having fun and being taken care of. and then they can bring them home later. And that, and I mean, it's wonderful for them.
Yeah.
So the good thing, I mean, with respite, it's kind of also a trial period for somebody who might be thinking about assisted living and they're not sure. So it's like that trial period, which if that's the case, we also recommend they stay with us for at least like 2.5 to 3 weeks, because coming in for a few days, you're not going to be able to say, oh yeah, I want to stay here, even though our place is great. No, there's lots of great places. So there's respite where if you want a longer stay, because some people just want a weekend, even at home, like a staycation, and just a little bit of a break for them. But it can tend to be a little bit more than our daytime center. It just depends on how long and how many hours you're looking for.
Yeah.
So you have 2 different options. And then of course, and it's Chastity, right? That's a nice name, by the way. She can let you know when we get to her about how they can do those services home as well and stay in their home. So there's kind of a few options out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And they all
there is.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Chaz. Now, we kind of touched on this as far as meeting expectations. When you're sitting down with a family, you do what's called a care plan. So talk to me about what a care plan is and when the best time to start that process is, because it's not when you're sitting in a crisis situation. You want to be proactive with this.
Correct.
And also, what is caregivingstress.com?
Okay. So a care plan. Any licensed home care agency is required to have a care plan on an individual if you are providing personal care services. That's a across the board regulation. What that care plan does is it tells the caregivers what they need to be doing while in the home. It focuses both on the actual client and their personal care. So if you're going to be helping them in the shower, if you're going to be helping, maybe Mrs. Smith only wants her hair washed every Thursday, that's in the care plan. But also, whenever the trash needs to be taken out, whenever they want their laundry done, whenever they have doctor's appointments, all that is in the care plan. So it's pretty much, it has demographic information, it has medical information, it has, your list of medications, your medical diagnoses, and all the tasks that the caregivers need to be doing while they're in the home. So like for my caregivers, we have an app on their phones that they use to complete all the tasks, and they can see everything about the client before they even get to the client's home. It actually has directions to the client's homes straight from the application. So that way our caregivers know what to do. They know what is to be expected, and there's not any questioning or surprises when they get there.
Right.
Yeah, it's really great because then you're setting the stage. It's not only meeting but exceeding expectations on both ends.
Absolutely.
You can prove that they, didn't ask for XYZ. If they come back and say, well, we thought you were going to be doing this or that for us. So it's very important. So tell me about the caregivingstress.com.
So caregivingstress.com is actually a free resource for caregivers, and we hand out these little cards. We can probably not be able to see it. But it's actually a home instead based website, and it's a resource for caregivers. So they can go on there and find different articles on all kinds of topics, all kinds of medical conditions like Alzheimer's and dementia, Parkinson's, those type of things. They can find tips and tricks on how to deal with caring for loved ones with particular diseases. And then they have conversation forums. So caregivers can go on there and ask questions and communicate with one another on sharing ideas, on, just all kinds of resources. So it's just a really good free website that I encourage I even encourage clients to visit it because it helps them too. All the articles that are on there, it's referring to them. So I encourage our clients, I encourage all of our caregivers to go on there, and our family caregivers to go on there and at least just check it out. And if you like it, it's a great resource.
Yes, it sounds like we all have really great resources available for our seniors for sure. All right, Paula, welcome back.
Talk about caregiver stress. It's like all of a sudden I'm frozen time here. So I missed out on some of the conversation.
No
but
worries. Yeah, so you have, tell me about the role that ADS plays with the Senior Friendship Center.
Well, I love to tell the story about Brother Geenan and how his vision was remarkable. When he was visiting Sarasota, and he discovered that individuals were, they're retired here. They're having, life is wonderful, everything's going well. And then all of a sudden illness occurred, and he was visiting the hospital and ran into people that were just isolated and lonely. And so that's how our organization was developed. And the day program is actually the first building. We are the first freestanding in the United States. I don't think people know that.
No.
It doesn't mean that other people weren't doing day programs in church halls or community centers and things like that. But he actually had that vision to have a place where people could come and be connected. So I'm as passionate about day programs because it really has purposeful activities for individuals. The results are phenomenal. When people come and they feel so confident, and besides having fun and socialization, I mean, it is purposeful activity, and it's thoughtful. I am always amazed, and this is where I nudge people when we talk about support groups and how it's not just one aspect of care. It's about really taking a look and saying, how can you dismiss an opportunity or believe that someone is not going to benefit from an offering? So, and that applies to all of us that are sitting around this meeting
Absolutely.
today. It's truthful that we have to work really hard at encouraging people to take some action and to explore that. So our day programs, we're proud of them. We have beautiful spaces and trained staff, and we're open. I think that's the other thing. We've been open since we closed for the pandemic until June 15th of last year. So we've been open for over a year. And I'm always amazed when people leave a message for me saying, "Oh, so you're open." And I'm like going, and so getting the word out to individuals, but is so critical. So that's the adult day service is part of the umbrella of the caregiving place. So we feel like we can provide them with a day program, but we also provide them with that initial phone call when people call and say, "I need help." Mm-hmm. They may not know what they need, but they know they need something. Yeah. And from there we take it a little bit further. And I think probably that's my next segment or whatever. I too could talk.
Yeah, I think it's really important to emphasize that you provide reoccurring educational events, and you provide a resource center and those support groups for sure. And then your center is in Venice. So we'll just point out that Aime's center is in Charlotte County. So depending on where our viewers are listening to this, if you have questions for either of these ladies, we'll be sure to put that in the chat, but just important to make that distinction.
We're also in Sarasota. So this is Sarasota County. So Sarasota and Venice. Okay. We have adult day programs. So just wanted to clarify that.
All right, ladies. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this segment of SBB University. If you have any questions for these ladies, please be sure to put it in the chat. I just thank you for joining us and hope you have a great day.
Thank you so much. Bye.